Hello everyone. Welcome to this story, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It will help you stay motivated and learn more English with us. Today, we're diving into a story about focus, attention, and thriving in a world full of distractions. This story will guide you through practical lessons, inspiring moments, and actionable steps to help you strengthen your focus, boost your productivity, and improve your English at the same time. Stick with us, and by the end, you'll have insights you can apply immediately in your own life. Meet Alex, a young professional living in a bustling city where notifications, social media, and endless tasks pulled him in every direction. Every morning, he woke up with good intentions, to work on his personal projects, study English, and plan his day. Yet, by mid-morning, he often found himself scrolling aimlessly through his phone, responding to unimportant messages, or jumping from task to task without finishing anything. The constant influx of information left him mentally drained, frustrated, and convinced that he would never achieve his goals. One particular morning, Alex sat at his desk, staring at a blank page for his English practice. He had promised himself he would complete a writing exercise, but as usual, he opened social media first. Just for a minute. Hours slipped by. By the end of the day, he felt exhausted, discouraged, and guilty. He realized that his struggle was not due to laziness. He genuinely wanted to learn, grow, and accomplish more, but because the world around him was designed to fragment his attention. Notifications, pop-ups, emails, and messages constantly interrupted his focus. Alex knew he needed a new approach, a strategy to reclaim his attention and focus on what truly mattered. Determined to change, Alex started observing his own habits. He noticed patterns in his distractions. He checked his phone whenever he felt bored, anxious, or uncertain about what to do next. He also realized that his environment, full of distractions, made it almost impossible to stay focused for long periods. Determined to reclaim control, Alex decided to experiment with small changes. He turned off unnecessary notifications, cleared his workspace, and created a quiet corner specifically for studying English and completing personal projects. He began to understand that focus was not just a skill, it was an environment, a habit, and a mindset. The first day of this experiment was challenging. Alex felt the pull of old habits, the irresistible urge to check his phone or browse online. But he reminded himself that real focus requires deliberate choices. He set a timer for 20 minutes and committed to working without interruption, starting with a single English writing exercise. The first few minutes were uncomfortable. His mind wandered constantly. But gradually, he noticed something magical. As he concentrated on one task, distractions began to fade into the background. The 20 minutes passed, and Alex realized he had completed the exercise without checking his phone even once. It was a small victory, but it sparked a sense of control and possibility. Encouraged by this success, Alex decided to structure his day around focused blocks of work, each dedicated to a single task. He experimented with different techniques. The Pomodoro method, where he worked for 25 minutes and rested for 5, and setting clear, achievable goals for each block. He discovered that having a specific goal and a defined time period significantly improved his ability to concentrate. Each small success reinforced his confidence, showing him that focus was not an elusive trait, but a skill that could be trained like a muscle. He also began observing his natural rhythms. Some hours were more productive and alert than others, while certain times of day made him prone to distraction and fatigue. By aligning important tasks with his peak energy periods, Alex maximized his efficiency. He realized that focus isn't just about trying harder. It's about working smarter, understanding your mind, and designing your environment to support attention rather than fragment it. Another key insight Alex discovered was the importance of eliminating decision fatigue. He created routines and rituals that minimized small choices throughout the day. For instance, he decided to keep his study materials, notebook, and pens always in the same place, and to start every English session with a simple breathing exercise to signal his mind that it was time to focus. These small adjustments reduced mental friction, making it easier to maintain concentration on the tasks that truly mattered. By the end of the first week, Alex could already feel a difference. He was completing more exercises, retaining more vocabulary, and finishing tasks that once seemed impossible. The sense of accomplishment was motivating, reinforcing the benefits of focus and creating a positive cycle. The more he practiced, the easier it became to maintain attention, and the more results he saw, the more motivated he was to keep practicing. This was just the beginning of Alex's journey. Over the next weeks and months, he would encounter new challenges, distractions, and temptations, but he was now equipped with practical tools, strategies, and a mindset that allowed him to stay focused, make progress, and reclaim control over his time and attention. As Alex continued his journey, he quickly realized that maintaining focus in a world full of distractions required more than just turning off notifications or organizing his workspace. Distractions were not only external, they were internal too. Thoughts about unfinished tasks, worries about the future, or random memories could easily pull him away from the present moment. Alex understood that mastering focus meant learning to manage both external and internal interruptions. He started by practicing mindfulness. Every morning, before opening his English books or writing exercises, Alex took 10 minutes to sit quietly, paying attention to his breath and observing his thoughts without judgment. This simple habit taught him to notice when his mind wandered and gently bring it back to the task at hand. Over time, he found that he could recognize mental distractions more quickly and redirect his attention to what mattered most. Mindfulness became a powerful tool, not just for studying English, but for managing the many competing demands of his life. Next, Alex experimented with the concept of single tasking. In a world obsessed with multitasking, he discovered that trying to do several things at once severely reduced both focus and quality. He dedicated blocks of time to one activity only, writing, reading, or studying English vocabulary. He turned off his phone, closed unrelated tabs on his computer, and informed friends that he would be unavailable during these focus periods. The difference was striking. Tasks that used to take hours were completed efficiently, and he retained more information. Alex realized that focus is like a muscle, it strengthens with consistent, concentrated use, not with scattered effort. To further strengthen his attention, Alex set specific, measurable goals for each study session. Instead of vaguely planning to practice English, he aimed to complete a set number of exercises, write a page of notes, or memorize 20 new words. Goals gave him direction and purpose, reducing the tendency for his mind to wander. He also kept a journal to track his achievements, which provided a visual reminder of his progress. Seeing completed tasks accumulated over days and weeks motivated him to maintain consistency and build a sense of mastery. Alex discovered another key strategy: managing his environment to reduce temptation. He noticed that certain apps, websites, or even noisy surroundings disrupted his focus. He began to create a focus zone, a clean, quiet space with minimal distractions, comfortable lighting, and all materials within reach. He even used headphones with soft instrumental music to mask background noise and signal to his brain that it was time to concentrate. These environmental adjustments were surprisingly effective. By controlling what he could, Alex significantly improved his ability to stay on task. Another challenge Alex faced was mental fatigue. Long study sessions sometimes left him drained and unproductive. He learned to listen to his body and mind, incorporating short breaks to recharge. Using techniques like the Pomodoro method, he alternated between focused work and brief rest periods. This balance allowed him to maintain high levels of concentration over longer periods without burnout. He realized that discipline and rest were not opposites. Together, they created sustainable focus. Alex also found that minimizing decision fatigue made a big difference. By creating consistent routines, he reduced the number of small choices that drained his mental energy. Morning routines included a set sequence: breakfast, brief exercise, mindfulness, and then study. By automating these choices, he preserved his cognitive energy for tasks that truly required focus. He realized that the fewer decisions he had to make about trivial matters, the more capacity he had to concentrate on meaningful work. As the weeks passed, Alex faced social distractions. Invitations to go out, messages from friends, or the urge to check social media tempted him constantly. He learned to politely set boundaries, explaining that he was focusing on his personal growth and study. This required courage, but it also reinforced his commitment to his goals. By choosing focus over instant gratification, he gained control over his time and energy, and gradually, friends and colleagues respected his disciplined approach. By the end of this stage, Alex noticed real changes. His English skills improved, he completed more tasks efficiently, and he felt a sense of control over his life that he had never experienced before. He realized that focus was not about willpower alone, it was about strategy, environment, mindfulness, and consistent practice. Each step he took, each habit he formed, reinforced his ability to stay on task, even in a world full of distractions. Alex understood that the journey had only begun. He now had the tools and mindset to maintain focus, but the real challenge was applying these strategies consistently over months and years. Distractions would never disappear entirely, but with the right techniques and habits, he could navigate them effectively, achieving his goals and continuing to grow every day. As Alex moved further into his focus journey, he realized that staying attentive was not always about avoiding distractions, sometimes it was about managing the intensity of his own mind. Even in a quiet room, thoughts raced, doubts about his progress, worries about upcoming tasks, or random memories from the past. Alex noticed that these internal distractions often pulled him away from studying English or completing important projects just as effectively as notifications or social media. He understood that mastering focus required awareness of both external and internal interruptions. To tackle this, Alex began practicing a more structured mindfulness routine. Each day, he spent 15 minutes sitting quietly, focusing on his breath, and observing thoughts without judgment. Whenever a thought drifted into his mind, he acknowledged it and gently returned to his breathing. Over time, he noticed an important shift. He could recognize distractions as they appeared and return to his work more quickly. His mind became like a river, thoughts flowed through, but he no longer felt swept away by them. This practice strengthened not just his attention, but also his patience and resilience. Alex also began experimenting with time boxing. Instead of loosely planning to study English, he created defined periods for specific tasks, 45 minutes for vocabulary, 20 minutes for writing, and 15 minutes for reading. This structure gave him clear boundaries and a sense of urgency, helping him avoid drifting into other activities. At first, it was difficult. He would feel restless or tempted to check his phone. But with consistent practice, he learned to honor the time he had allotted, and soon he noticed a significant improvement in his productivity. He discovered another crucial insight: multitasking was a myth. Trying to write while checking messages or studying while watching videos drastically reduced the quality of his work. Alex committed to single tasking, with full attention, focusing on one activity at a time. He noticed that when he fully concentrated, he completed tasks faster, retained more information, and even felt more satisfaction at the end. The experience taught him that focus is a skill honed by deliberate, uninterrupted practice, not by trying to do everything at once. External distractions still posed challenges. Notifications, emails, and social media constantly tempted him. Alex decided to implement strict boundaries, turning off notifications during study blocks, using apps that block distracting websites, and setting specific times for communication. He also created a minimalist workspace: no unnecessary items, no clutter, just the materials he needed. By controlling what he could, he removed temptations and allowed his attention to flow naturally toward the task at hand. Another discovery was the power of micro breaks. Alex learned that brief pauses, just a few minutes long, allowed his mind to reset and prevented mental fatigue. He would stretch, take a short walk, or drink water before returning to work. These breaks were not distractions. They were tools to maintain sustainable focus over longer periods. He realized that attention is like a battery. It needs to recharge to perform optimally. By respecting his cognitive limits, he could focus longer and more effectively. Alex also tackled the challenge of internal chatter and anxiety. He noticed that when he felt overwhelmed by all the tasks on his to-do list, his focus shattered. To combat this, he began keeping a brain dump notebook, writing down every thought, worry, or pending task before starting focused work. By externalizing these thoughts, he cleared mental space and reduced anxiety, making it easier to concentrate. The act of writing things down provided both clarity and relief, reinforcing his sense of control. Over time, Alex observed the cumulative impact of these strategies. Each focus session, each structured block of work, each moment of mindfulness strengthened his attention. He no longer approached studying English or completing projects with resistance or dread. Instead, he felt curiosity, engagement, and a growing sense of accomplishment. His skills improved, and he began to notice a deeper change. He was becoming the type of person who could sustain focus naturally, even amidst distractions. Yet, Alex knew that maintaining this focus would require ongoing effort. Life would always present new challenges, social events, unexpected tasks, or digital interruptions. But now he had a framework, a toolkit, and a mindset that allowed him to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. Focus was no longer something that happened by chance. It was a skill he could cultivate, refine, and rely on to achieve his goals. By the end of this stage, Alex felt empowered. He could manage distractions, maintain attention for extended periods, and make consistent progress in learning English and completing other important projects. He realized that focus was not an innate trait reserved for a few people. It was a skill anyone could develop with practice, patience, and the right strategies. His journey had shown him that even in a world filled with distractions, it is possible to reclaim attention and direct it toward meaningful growth. As Alex continued to practice focus, he encountered a new type of challenge: mental fatigue and overstimulation. Even with all the strategies he had developed, mindfulness, single-tasking, time-boxing, and environment control, some days felt impossible. His brain seemed overloaded, thoughts raced faster than he could manage, and distractions became more tempting than ever. Alex realized that maintaining focus wasn't just about willpower. It was about understanding his mind, energy levels, and limits. To tackle this, Alex began paying closer attention to his natural rhythms. He noticed that certain times of day were more productive than others. Mornings, after a healthy breakfast and a short walk, were his most focused periods, while late afternoons were often sluggish. By aligning demanding tasks, like writing English essays or tackling complex projects, with his peak energy hours, he could achieve more with less struggle. This insight taught him that focus is not only a skill but also a form of self-awareness, understanding how your mind and body operate, and working with them rather than against them. Alex also explored the power of strategic breaks and rest. He realized that forcing himself to push through fatigue led to diminishing returns. Instead, he scheduled intentional pauses, a brief walk, stretching exercises, or a few minutes of deep breathing. These micro breaks recharged his attention and prevented burnout. He also began prioritizing sleep, recognizing that adequate rest was essential for cognitive function. The more rested he felt, the longer he could sustain focus, and the easier it became to resist distractions. Alex learned that attention is like a muscle. It grows stronger with consistent use, but it also needs recovery to perform optimally. Another challenge came in the form of digital temptations. Social media notifications, news alerts, and messages continued to lure him away from his goals. Alex experimented with digital minimalism. He set specific times for checking email and social media, and during focus blocks, he used apps that temporarily blocked distracting sites. He also removed unnecessary apps from his phone, keeping only what was essential. The fewer choices and temptations present, the easier it was to direct his attention intentionally. Alex realized that controlling his environment, both physical and digital, was a crucial step in strengthening focus. To further improve his concentration, Alex began practicing deep work sessions. These were longer blocks of uninterrupted focus on a single, meaningful task. During these sessions, he eliminated every possible distraction, informed others he would be unavailable, and immersed himself fully in the activity. Initially, sustaining this level of focus was difficult. His mind wanted to wander, and small impulses to check his phone or browse the internet were strong. But as he repeated these sessions consistently, he noticed his attention span lengthen, and his ability to produce high-quality work increased dramatically. Alex also realized the importance of setting clear intentions before starting any task. Instead of approaching work with vague goals, he defined what he wanted to achieve and how he would measure success. For example, instead of saying, "I will practice English today," he would commit to, "I will complete 10 new vocabulary exercises and write 1 paragraph using the new words." Clear intentions created mental clarity and reduced indecision, making it easier to stay on task. He discovered that a focused mind requires a clear direction. Another powerful insight came when Alex started tracking his progress. He maintained a journal of tasks completed, time spent focused, and challenges overcome. Reviewing this journal reinforced his sense of accomplishment and highlighted patterns in his distractions. By analyzing his performance, he could adjust strategies, improve routines, and celebrate small wins. This feedback loop strengthened both his motivation and his ability to maintain attention consistently. Alex also experimented with limiting multitasking in daily life beyond study sessions. Even simple activities, like cooking, walking, or listening to a podcast, were approached with full attention. By training his mind to focus on one thing at a time in everyday life, he strengthened the mental habit of attention. He realized that focus was not confined to study hours. It was a mindset that could be applied across every action, making life feel richer, more intentional, and more productive. By the end of this stage, Alex felt a profound change. His attention span had increased, he could sustain concentration for longer periods, and distractions no longer felt overwhelming. He understood that focus is not a single skill or moment of willpower but a combination of awareness, environment, energy management, intentional practice, and reflection. Alex now approached his English practice and personal projects with calm confidence, knowing that even in a world filled with distractions, sustained attention was achievable through deliberate effort. He also realized a deeper lesson: focus is a journey, not a destination. There would always be new challenges, unexpected distractions, and moments of fatigue, but with the tools, habits, and mindset he had cultivated, Alex knew he could navigate them effectively. Staying focused was no longer a struggle. It had become a practice, a skill, and a way of life that empowered him to achieve meaningful growth and results consistently. As Alex continued his journey towards sustained focus, he realized that the next level of concentration required more than just routines, environment control, and mindfulness. He began exploring advanced strategies to strengthen attention and productivity. One of the first things he learned was the importance of prioritization. Not all tasks are equal. Some activities provide greater value, growth, and long-term benefit than others. Alex decided to categorize his tasks according to their importance and impact. Urgent but trivial tasks were scheduled sparingly, while high-impact activities like English writing exercises, reading, and creative projects received his peak focus hours. This approach helped him allocate energy wisely and prevented the exhaustion that comes from constantly reacting to minor demands. Alex also began experimenting with the concept of attention batching. He grouped similar tasks together so that his mind could stay in a consistent mode of focus. For example, he dedicated a block of time exclusively to reading, another to writing, and another to reviewing vocabulary. By reducing cognitive switching, he minimized the mental friction that occurs when jumping between different types of work. This practice allowed him to achieve deeper concentration and higher quality output with less effort. Another technique that transformed Alex's focus was intentional goal visualization. Before each study session, he spent a few minutes imagining the successful completion of his tasks. He pictured himself writing fluently in English, understanding new grammar patterns, and finishing exercises with clarity and precision. This mental rehearsal primed his mind for action, increased motivation, and reduced the likelihood of distraction. Alex realized that the brain responds strongly to vivid mental images, and using this to his advantage created a subtle but powerful boost in focus. Alex also discovered the value of physical and mental anchors. He would start each focus session with a small ritual, brewing a cup of tea, taking 3 deep breaths, and arranging his workspace. These actions became signals to his brain that it was time to concentrate, helping him transition from a distracted state into a focused mindset quickly. Over time, the ritual itself strengthened his ability to enter deep focus almost automatically, reducing the struggle that often accompanies beginning a challenging task. In addition, Alex practiced single-goal immersion, where he committed to completing one task fully before moving to another. Unlike traditional multitasking, this approach required discipline and patience. If he was writing an English essay, he did nothing else, no checking messages, no browsing, no switching to another project. At first, his mind protested, and he occasionally faltered. But with repetition, Alex found that working in immersion mode dramatically increased efficiency, creativity, and retention of information. He learned that depth of attention often matters more than the number of tasks completed. To counter mental fatigue, Alex began incorporating deliberate mental resets. During longer study sessions, he would close his eyes, stretch, or take a few minutes to step outside and observe the environment. These brief pauses allowed his mind to reset, reduce stress, and prepare for the next wave of concentration. He discovered that attention is renewable when cared for strategically, and that ignoring fatigue often backfires, reducing both focus and productivity. Alex also explored the psychological dimension of focus, understanding his triggers for distraction. He noticed that boredom, anxiety, or uncertainty often led to mindless scrolling or procrastination. To counter this, he structured his work to include both challenge and engagement. By balancing difficult tasks with those that were interesting or rewarding, he maintained motivation and reduced the impulse to escape into distractions. He realized that managing focus isn't only about discipline, it's about creating conditions where attention naturally flows. Another breakthrough came when Alex experimented with limiting external information. News alerts, social media updates, and constant notifications had previously fractured his attention. He implemented strict information diets, checking updates only at scheduled times and filtering content for relevance and value. This not only freed his cognitive resources but also improved clarity and mental calm, making it easier to sustain focus on meaningful work. Finally, Alex recognized the power of accountability. He shared his goals and progress with a friend who was also studying English, creating a supportive system of mutual encouragement. Knowing someone else was aware of his commitments increased his dedication and reduced the likelihood of succumbing to distractions. Accountability, Alex realized, was a subtle but potent motivator that amplified his own internal discipline. By the end of this stage, Alex had transformed his approach to focus. He had moved from reactive and fragmented attention to deliberate, structured, and highly productive concentration. Each strategy, from prioritization to attention batching, visualization, rituals, immersion, rest, and accountability, worked together to strengthen his ability to stay present and engaged. Alex's journey was no longer about struggling with distraction. It was about intentionally crafting the conditions for deep, meaningful focus and leveraging them to achieve his goals in English and beyond. As Alex's focus skills grew stronger, he encountered a new type of challenge: chaotic environments. Even with mindfulness, structured routines, and digital minimalism, he couldn't always control his surroundings. Busy cafes, noisy streets, or roommates moving around often tested his ability to concentrate. Alex realized that true focus wasn't about avoiding chaos entirely. It was about learning to maintain attention despite it. He began experimenting with mental filters. When working in noisy or distracting spaces, Alex would mentally tune out irrelevant stimuli, focusing only on the task at hand. He combined this with soft instrumental music through headphones to mask background noise, allowing his brain to settle into a steady rhythm. At first, it required conscious effort. His attention kept drifting toward external events, but over time, this selective attention became almost automatic. Alex discovered that the mind could learn to concentrate even when the world was noisy, if trained with intention. Alex also learned to break large tasks into smaller, manageable chunks. Long writing assignments or complex exercises often seemed daunting, increasing the temptation to procrastinate. By dividing these projects into achievable sections, he reduced mental resistance and created a clear roadmap for completion. Each small task completed provided immediate feedback, reinforcing motivation and focus. This strategy taught him that progress, no matter how incremental, builds momentum and strengthens attention over time. Another technique Alex adopted was strategic visualization combined with reward. Before each study session, he would imagine completing the task successfully and feeling the satisfaction of achievement. After finishing, he allowed himself a small, intentional reward, a short walk, a favorite snack, or a few minutes on social media. This balance of discipline and reward made focus feel sustainable and even enjoyable, reinforcing positive habits without feeling restrictive. Alex also explored energy management as a key component of focus. He noticed that certain times of day, physical states, and even meals influenced his concentration. He adjusted his schedule to match his natural energy peaks, prioritizing challenging tasks when he felt most alert and leaving routine or lighter tasks for lower energy periods. By respecting his body's rhythms, he minimized frustration and maximized efficiency, realizing that focus is not just a mental skill, it is deeply connected to physical well-being. He discovered the importance of reducing mental clutter. Alex began keeping a distraction log, noting every time he felt tempted to check his phone, browse the internet, or daydream. By identifying patterns, he could anticipate distractions and plan strategies to overcome them. Sometimes, simply acknowledging a distraction without acting on it was enough to regain control. He learned that awareness of one's tendencies is crucial for building sustained attention. Another challenge Alex faced was the constant pull of multitasking in everyday life. Conversations, notifications, and minor chores often interrupted his focus, creating cognitive friction. To counter this, he committed to single tasking wherever possible. Whether writing an essay, studying vocabulary, or even preparing a meal, he focused fully on one activity at a time. Over time, this practice strengthened his ability to sustain attention and increased his overall productivity. Alex also realized that focus required periodic reflection. At the end of each day, he reviewed what he accomplished, identified moments of distraction, and considered what strategies worked best. This reflection allowed him to adjust his routines, improve his environment, and fine-tune his approach. Focus was not static. It required continuous learning and adaptation, and reflection became a tool for mastery. By the end of this phase, Alex noticed a profound transformation. Even in chaotic, noisy, or unpredictable environments, he could maintain concentration. He completed tasks more efficiently, learned English faster, and experienced less mental fatigue and frustration. Focus was no longer a fragile state that depended on perfect conditions. It had become a reliable skill, a part of his character, and a tool he could carry anywhere. Alex understood a deeper truth: distraction is inevitable, but attention is controllable. By training his mind, managing his energy, and designing strategies for both calm and chaotic environments, he could stay on course toward his goals. He had moved from reacting to every interruption to proactively managing his focus, creating a life where meaningful work could coexist with the demands and chaos of modern life. As Alex progressed on his journey of focus, he realized that distractions were not always external. Internal pressures, stress, and self-doubt often proved to be the most insidious interruptions. Even with perfect routines, minimal notifications, and an organized environment, his mind could sabotage his concentration with worry, negative self-talk, or fear of failure. Alex understood that mastering focus required not only managing external stimuli but also cultivating inner mental resilience. He began by observing his thoughts and emotions. Whenever anxiety or self-doubt arose, he would pause and acknowledge it without judgment. He discovered that resisting or suppressing these thoughts only amplified their power. Instead, by noticing them and returning his attention to the task at hand, he gradually reduced their influence. This practice of mindful awareness allowed Alex to separate his attention from intrusive thoughts, creating mental space for productive work. Alex also started practicing deliberate mental framing. Before beginning a study session or challenging task, he would remind himself of the purpose behind his actions. For instance, rather than thinking, "I must finish this English exercise perfectly," he reframed it as, "This is an opportunity to learn, improve, and grow." By focusing on growth instead of judgment, he reduced the pressure that often disrupted focus and created a sense of intrinsic motivation. To further strengthen his resilience, Alex incorporated short, high-intensity focus sprints. He would commit to fully concentrating for 10 to 20 minutes on a single task, disregarding any distractions. These sprints, although brief, trained his brain to maintain attention under pressure and helped him resist the urge to procrastinate. Over time, the duration and intensity of these focus periods increased, building both endurance and confidence. Another breakthrough came when Alex began using positive self-talk and affirmations. Whenever he felt tempted to give in to distraction or negative thoughts, he would silently repeat phrases like, "I am focused and capable," or, "Every action I take moves me closer to my goals." This simple practice reinforced his determination and reminded him of his ability to control attention, even when stress and doubt were present. Alex also explored the role of environment in managing internal distractions. He created a space that promoted calm and minimized cognitive clutter. Soft lighting, clean surfaces, and a comfortable chair reduced subtle stressors that could fragment attention. Even small details, like keeping a water bottle nearby or having essential materials at hand, helped him maintain focus and prevented unnecessary interruptions. He discovered that challenging tasks often triggered avoidance behaviors, checking social media, tidying the desk, or snacking excessively. To counteract this, Alex implemented structured work intervals with short breaks. Knowing he had a limited period of intense focus followed by a brief rest reduced anxiety and allowed him to face difficult tasks with composure. He learned that mental pressure could be managed effectively through strategic scheduling and deliberate pacing. Alex also experimented with visualization under stress. Before tackling particularly complex assignments, he imagined himself working calmly, completing the task successfully, and feeling satisfied with his progress. This mental rehearsal reduced performance anxiety and strengthened focus, making the real task feel more manageable. He realized that the mind often responds to imagined scenarios as if they were real, and using visualization was a powerful way to prime attention. Over the following weeks, Alex noticed that his ability to maintain focus under pressure improved dramatically. Internal distractions that once derailed his sessions now appeared fleeting, and he could return to work with minimal effort. His English practice became more productive, and complex tasks in other areas of his life were completed more efficiently. Alex realized that resilience and focus are deeply interconnected. The stronger his mental stamina, the less vulnerable he was to distraction, both internal and external. By the end of this stage, Alex had mastered an essential truth: distractions are inevitable, but the ability to choose where to place attention is a skill that can be trained. Through mindfulness, reframing, affirmations, visualization, structured sprints, and environmental optimization, he had developed the inner strength to maintain focus even under stress. He understood that focus is not a passive state but an active, practiced, and resilient form of attention that empowers growth and achievement in every aspect of life. As Alex advanced further, he realized that sustaining focus for long-term projects required a combination of strategy, planning, and mental endurance. While short bursts of attention and single-tasking were helpful, he now needed methods to maintain concentration over extended periods without losing momentum. He understood that long-term productivity demanded both consistency and smart techniques. One of the first strategies Alex implemented was goal chunking. Large, intimidating projects were often the greatest source of distraction because the mind perceives them as overwhelming. Alex broke these projects into smaller, manageable milestones with clear deadlines. Instead of thinking, "I have to write a 10-page English essay," he would set goals like, "Today I will draft the introduction and first 2 paragraphs." By focusing on one achievable section at a time, he reduced stress and maintained steady progress. Each completed milestone provided a sense of accomplishment, reinforcing his focus and motivation. Alex also explored energy management more deliberately. He realized that mental energy fluctuates throughout the day, and trying to maintain intense focus during low-energy periods led to frustration and distraction. He began scheduling the most demanding tasks during his peak mental hours, leaving lighter, routine activities for periods of lower energy. This alignment between energy and task difficulty increased efficiency and minimized cognitive resistance. Alex understood that focus isn't about pushing harder, it's about working smarter. Another powerful approach Alex adopted was the use of focus anchors. Before starting a major task, he would engage in a brief preparatory ritual to prime his mind. This might include a few minutes of deep breathing, reviewing the task goal, or visualizing successful completion. These anchors acted as mental cues, signaling his brain that it was time to enter deep concentration. Over time, Alex found that these rituals helped him slip into a focused state more quickly and maintain it longer. Alex also experimented with scheduled distraction breaks. He understood that trying to avoid all interruptions entirely was unrealistic and often counterproductive. Instead, he designated specific times for checking messages, social media, or emails. This approach allowed him to focus completely during work periods while still satisfying the natural urge to engage with external information. By controlling when and how he attended to distractions, Alex minimized their impact on productivity. To strengthen his attention span further, Alex implemented progressive focus training. He gradually increased the duration of his deep work sessions. Initially, he might work with complete focus for 20 minutes, followed by a short break. Gradually, he extended these sessions to 40, 50, and eventually 90 minutes. Each incremental increase built his mental endurance and ability to sustain attention, showing him that focus is a skill developed through consistent, deliberate practice. Alex also emphasized reflection and adaptation. At the end of each week, he reviewed his accomplishments, noting which strategies worked best, where distractions had appeared, and how he could improve. This reflective practice allowed him to fine-tune his approach, experiment with new techniques, and celebrate successes. It reinforced the idea that focus is dynamic and requires ongoing adjustment, not a one-time solution. Another key insight came from understanding his motivational triggers. Alex noticed that certain types of tasks were more engaging than others, while some felt tedious and easily disrupted his attention. He learned to structure his schedule to alternate between challenging and enjoyable tasks, balancing cognitive load and maintaining engagement. This intentional variation reduced boredom and helped sustain focus across longer projects. Alex also explored the impact of physical health on mental focus. Regular exercise, proper nutrition, hydration, and adequate sleep became integral to his routine. He noticed that physical well-being directly influenced his attention span, energy levels, and resistance to distraction. By prioritizing his body as well as his mind, Alex created a holistic system that supported sustained concentration. By the end of this stage, Alex had developed a sophisticated system for long-term focus. He combined goal chunking, energy alignment, focus anchors, scheduled distraction breaks, progressive training, reflective practice, motivational structuring, and physical well-being into a cohesive approach. This system allowed him to maintain attention over extended periods, tackle complex projects with confidence, and continue advancing in English learning and other personal goals. Alex realized that true focus is an ongoing practice, a skill cultivated through deliberate strategy, consistency, and mindful attention to both mind and body. As Alex approached the final stages of his focus journey, he faced the ultimate test, applying all the strategies he had learned in real-life, high-pressure situations. While earlier stages had allowed him to practice focus in controlled or moderate environments, now he had to sustain attention during complex projects, tight deadlines, and unexpected interruptions. This phase required mastery, adaptability, and unwavering mental resilience. Alex began by setting a major long-term goal: to write a complete English essay series on topics he had never explored before, integrating new vocabulary, advanced grammar, and critical thinking. The scale of the project was intimidating, but he approached it using all of the techniques he had developed: goal chunking, time boxing, deep work, and scheduled breaks. He broke the essay series into smaller sections, visualized each milestone, and committed fully to single tasking. Each day became an exercise in applying focus deliberately and strategically. During this process, Alex encountered frequent distractions. Messages, sudden errands, or internal doubts threatened to derail his progress. However, he relied on his mental filters and mindfulness techniques to redirect attention. When intrusive thoughts appeared, he acknowledged them without judgment and returned to the task at hand. When external interruptions arose, he either postponed them or used them as structured breaks. Alex noticed that he was no longer frustrated or reactive. Instead, he maintained calm concentration, demonstrating how practiced focus could transform stressful situations into manageable challenges. He also experimented with peak performance alignment. By observing his energy and mood, Alex scheduled the most demanding writing sections for times when he felt alert and creative. Routine or repetitive tasks, like reviewing vocabulary or proofreading, were done during lower energy periods. This careful alignment allowed him to maintain high levels of concentration without fatigue, demonstrating that sustainable focus depends on understanding both mind and body. As the project progressed, Alex tracked his progress meticulously. He maintained a journal noting completed sections, the effectiveness of focus strategies, and moments of distraction. Reviewing these entries provided valuable feedback, reinforcing what worked and highlighting areas for improvement. He discovered that reflection not only strengthened focus but also cultivated self-awareness, a crucial component for long-term productivity. Another significant development was Alex's ability to balance intensity with rest. Deep work sessions were demanding, but he had learned that short breaks, healthy meals, and even brief walks allowed his attention to recharge. By respecting these cycles of effort and recovery, he maintained consistent progress without burning out. Alex realized that disciplined rest is as important as disciplined work in achieving sustained focus. Social pressures and external expectations also tested Alex's attention. Friends, family, and colleagues often made requests or invited distractions, and it was tempting to respond immediately. Alex applied boundary-setting techniques he had practiced, politely delaying or scheduling non-urgent interactions while maintaining focus on critical tasks. This taught him that attention is not just about self-control, it is also about managing external demands strategically. Alex further honed his mental resilience through visualization and affirmation. Before tackling challenging sections, he imagined completing the task successfully and feeling proud of his work. Positive affirmations reinforced his confidence and reduced anxiety, allowing him to approach difficult tasks with clarity and composure. Over time, these practices strengthened his capacity to remain present and engaged even in stressful circumstances. By the end of this phase, Alex achieved remarkable results. His essays were completed with clarity, creativity, and accuracy. More importantly, he had internalized the principles of sustained focus, awareness, structure, energy management, reflection, resilience, and environmental control. He no longer felt at the mercy of distractions. Instead, he could intentionally direct his attention toward meaningful work, learning, and personal growth. Alex understood that focus is not a fixed trait, but a skill that grows through practice and strategic effort. By integrating all the lessons he had learned over weeks and months, he had built a system that could be applied in any area of life. Distractions, whether external or internal, were no longer obstacles but manageable elements. With mastery of attention, Alex felt empowered to pursue his goals, expand his knowledge, and continue learning English and other skills efficiently and purposefully. As Alex reflected on his entire journey of learning to focus in a world full of distractions, he realized that what he had achieved was more than just improved concentration. It was a transformation of his mindset, habits, and relationship with attention itself. He had moved from reacting to every interruption to intentionally directing his energy and focus toward meaningful goals. One of the key lessons Alex learned was that focus is a skill, not a natural trait. It can be trained, strengthened, and refined with deliberate practice. Techniques like mindfulness, single tasking, deep work, goal chunking, energy alignment, and scheduled breaks were not just temporary solutions, they were tools that shaped a new way of thinking. Alex understood that consistency and patience were essential, and that every small step of practice contributed to lasting improvement. Another insight was the interplay between internal and external distractions. Alex discovered that while he could control his environment to minimize interruptions, the most challenging obstacles often came from within: self-doubt, anxiety, and racing thoughts. By practicing mental awareness, affirmations, visualization, and reflection, he learned to manage these internal distractions effectively. He realized that true focus requires both external organization and internal resilience. Alex also saw the importance of balance. Maintaining focus is not about relentless work or denying oneself breaks, rest, or leisure. Instead, it is about structuring effort and recovery, aligning tasks with energy levels, and creating conditions that support attention. He noticed that respecting his physical and mental limits allowed him to sustain high-quality concentration over longer periods, making his work more effective and fulfilling. He reflected on the power of strategic habits and routines. Rituals such as preparing a clean workspace, starting sessions with intentional cues, and tracking progress helped automate focus, reducing the mental effort needed to maintain attention. These habits became scaffolding that supported consistent performance, showing Alex that focus thrives in a structured and intentional environment. Through his journey, Alex also realized that focus is closely tied to purpose and motivation. Tasks that were meaningful, engaging, or connected to his larger goals naturally attracted his attention. By clarifying why he was doing something, whether learning English, writing essays, or completing projects, he reduced resistance and increased intrinsic motivation. Purpose, he understood, is a powerful driver of attention. Alex acknowledged that the world would always present new distractions and challenges. Notifications, social pressures, and unexpected events were inevitable. But now he had developed the mindset, strategies, and resilience to navigate them effectively. Focus was no longer fragile or dependent on perfect conditions, it was a skill he could rely on under almost any circumstance. Looking back, Alex felt a sense of accomplishment and confidence. He had learned to harness attention as a tool for growth, learning, and achievement. He understood that focus is not a finite resource but a muscle that strengthens with practice, reflection, and thoughtful management. He also recognized that setbacks and distractions are part of the journey, not signs of failure. Each moment of redirection was an opportunity to reinforce skill, patience, and self-discipline. Finally, Alex reflected on the broader impact of focus in his life. By mastering attention, he improved not only his English skills but also his productivity, creativity, and overall sense of control. Life felt more intentional, and achievements became more meaningful. He realized that the ability to stay focused empowers people to transform potential into reality, to accomplish goals that once seemed out of reach, and to cultivate a deeper sense of personal satisfaction and growth. In conclusion, Alex's journey teaches a powerful lesson: focus is attainable, sustainable, and transformative. Through consistent practice, strategic planning, mindfulness, energy management, and resilience, anyone can reclaim attention in a distracted world. Distractions will always exist, but with the right mindset and habits, it is possible to maintain clarity, pursue meaningful goals, and achieve personal growth. Alex now knows that focus is more than a skill, it is a way of life, a foundation for success, and a pathway to continuous learning and self-improvement. The story of Alex's journey reminds us that every day offers a chance to practice focus, to strengthen attention, and to make progress toward meaningful goals. Even amidst chaos and distraction, the disciplined mind can navigate challenges, stay present, and thrive. And just like Alex, anyone willing to invest in their focus can unlock their potential, achieve their aspirations, and live a more purposeful and fulfilling life.